In this video, we're going to create a new PHP script which will call confirm email address. And this PHP script will accept the token parameter provided, and then it will go to our database and make sure that the token is found in the table email tokens here. And then we will read user ID, and for this user ID, we will confirm that email address provided is correct. Okay, so let's go ahead and create one last PHP script which will complete email email confirmation flow. So in the folder scripts, I will need to create a new file which is going to be PHP file, and I will call it confirm email PHP, right? Let's just quickly check the name of this. It's called confirm email address. So I'll copy the name, go back to my development environment, confirm email address PHP. Okay, and in this confirm email address PHP, we will work with database. We'll communicate with the database, and this is why, first of all, we need to insert or require PHP, MySQL data access object PHP file, and we need to read the database connection details like username and password from the file which we stored. It's a configuration ini file, and the details will be stored in config PHP array. Next, we will read this key value pairs from the config PHP array, and we will store them into variables with better names like database host, user, password, name, and etc. Okay, now we are ready to continue, and we can, what we will do, we will read the token parameter which is passed to us through via the browser address here. It's a get parameter. So add token equals the value. So we will read this parameter here, and we will check that it's not empty, because if the token parameter is empty, we do not want to continue. We will return, but before returning, we will print out a friendly message, missing required parameter or something like this. Now this PHP page can have any design. You can design it customly, like provide your layout and colors and images, and then you can store this friendly messages into variables and then display them in the places where you need them inside of your design. For the purpose of this video, I'm creating a blank white PHP page that simply does what it needs to do to confirm email address and then print out a friendly message or the result of its execution. Okay, so we made sure that email address is not empty, and now we can continue and actually connect to the database. And to connect to the database, we use MySQL data access object here. So we create a new instance of that, and we provide database access details to it. So the connection is now open. We can continue. So I will create and I will use a special function that I've added to MySQL data access object, and it's called get user ID with token. And this function, get user ID with token, will accept email token as a parameter, and then it will what it will do, it will go to the email tokens, and that, so the SQL query reads this way: select user ID from email tokens database table where email token is equal to the one we provide. And if the result of this SQL query is correct, we will return user ID back. So now let's go back to our database. So it will go into this user into email tokens database table, and it will read email token value. And if it's correct, if the token is found, it will return user ID. Okay, let's go back to our confirm email address script. So now if user ID is found, we need to check if it's not empty. I mean, if user ID is not empty, if there is something returned, we can continue. Otherwise, if it is empty, we'll print a friendly message, something like user with this email token is not found, and we will return. We do not want to continue if provided token is not correct. But if the provided token is correct, we can continue. And the last step for us is to confirm that email address is correct. And I have prepared this function. I've called it set email confirmed status to 1 for user ID, which is associated with this email token. So let's go into this function. And what this function does, it simply updates users table and sets the column is email confirmed to a value that we pass, which is going to be 1 for user ID that we provide. And both parameters are integer, that's why we provide I here, integer, and we bind the two parameters, status and user ID. Now let's go into our database table, and because we need to create, we don't have is email confirmed column in there. So I will copy this name and I will go to my database, switch to users table, switch to structure, and this is the structure of our database table users. And I will underneath here add one or more columns. I need to add one column. After we can insert it on any place here. I can insert it after the last column, date created here. So click on go. Now I'm invited to provide some of the information here. So the name of this column will be is email confirmed. Data type is going to be integer. And the default value I'm going to select as defined, and I will provide 0. So when user just registered, a newly registered user who did not confirm their email address yet will have a default value of 0. And I click on save, and I go to browse my database, and at the very end I'll have email address confirmed, which is now 0. Email address has not been yet confirmed for this user. Okay, so the field is there. I'll go back to my PHP script. And so this function set email confirmed status. Let's go back to confirm email address here. We're trying to confirm that email address has been confirmed. The token is correct. User did receive this email. User did click on the link, and the token is found in our database. And we set the value of 1, which will be updated from 0 to 1 after this query is executed. Update users, set email confirmed to 1 for user with ID that we provide. Okay, so after this, now the email token is used. So we need to check if the result of this SQL query is successful, then we need to delete the used token. We don't need that token anymore because email address has been confirmed. And if we do not delete, over time, this table email tokens will be filled with different tokens which are used up and are not needed anymore. So we will delete a record from this database table. And to delete this record, I created a new function which I called delete user token, and it simply accepts the token that it needs to delete. So if I switch to that function, and this is how it is defined in our MySQL data access object, it says delete from email tokens, where email token is equal to the one we will provide. And then we bind one string parameter to it, which is email token we have received here. Okay, so that should delete the used token. And again, all these functions that I've just mentioned, they're declared in our MySQL data access object, so that all communication with our database is inside of one file. Okay, so now when email address is confirmed and the token is deleted, we can close our database connection, and I will use the data access object variable and call close connection function. Okay, so now we can switch to our browser and test how this script works. So here's our script, which is confirm email address PHP with the provided token. And the page was not found before because this script did not exist. So now it does, and it should work. So let me cut out the correct token value and type the incorrect one. Hit enter, and it says a user with this email token is not found. Okay, so that works. Let me type in correct token value. I'll paste in here, and then I hit enter, and it says thank you, email address is now confirmed. So when email address is confirmed, that means that our users table should have the email confirmed field set to 1. Now it is 1. From 0 to 1 it did switch, and email token should be deleted from our email database, email tokens database. So if I switch here, it returned an empty result set, so there is no value, no tokens in our database email tokens table. Okay, so this function works. Email address confirmation feature is now complete, and we can continue.